demo of this game to show it off. Because this game requires some explanation. I can't do a no commentary video of it and have it really come across. Oksana Zoe Mills Henry. Sanford Fisher. That's a pretty good name. Yeah, OneDrive's gonna be mandatory soon. I believe it. Alright, so the first thing that happens in every run is you get a little description of what this character is doing at this planet. The gist of the game is that you're... I don't know if I've ever seen this. The gist of this game is that you're the first person who's made it out to this planet, or at least you've been sent to this planet that's heavily irradiated. There's supposed to be something there. You don't know what it is yet. And you've been told, or you've figured out on your own, depending on your intro story, to bring a auto dock, basically a mechanical doctor, and a rover that can go down to the surface. So you can configure in the game options all the stuff that you want your rover to start with, but I haven't bothered, so I'm just gonna take it into the garage and rip off its compass and its status display. Actually, it's a generator too. And I don't really need these things, but I'll throw them in storage for now. For the first run, you could rip off basically everything. Yeah, you can even take off the battery and the power controller, and it runs just off of whatever its internal generator is. But this is what I like to run with. I like having the battery and the power controller. The power controller, it turns out, just makes it so that stuff that's higher up on the list receives whatever power there is before stuff lower on the list. I only played one playthrough of this that I did not stream. So yeah, since the gist, there's two things going on with the fact that the planets are radiated. For one, this ship is not particularly well shielded, and so you are getting constantly irradiated. You can come here to this medical station, get scanned, and it will tell you how many rads, about how many rads you've taken on. Okay, here my rover is landing. You can see structures. Those structures are what you want to head for. You get near a structure, tells you there's an object in range, and you reach out and grab it, pull it in. Don't know what it is yet. That comes later. I have played this a couple times in total, so... yeah, there was a couple things that I found but wasn't able to use completely that were pretty cool on the one attempt that I didn't stream. So hopefully I'll find stuff like that early on. I stuck around for a while in that attempt. You saw I had a pretty high score. I was pretty proud of that. So there's all the stuff where I started out. And head down here. You can only carry so much out with you. And this actually looks like a pretty terrible starting place. I seem to be surrounded by water. One thing I found and was able to use was a active radar, which let me turn it on, and it would cause a circle sweep of the region. Medbay offline. Okay, that's another thing that started happening last run. According to the devs, they did institute some a little bit of hand-holding in your very first run, where they basically made it so that your ship computers don't take radiation damage and get disabled. That's another thing going on with the radiation is, for one thing, you can see my camera feed's messed up because there's a lot of interference. Also, I can turn off my microphone to save a little power, but you can't hear what's going on the surface, which becomes important later on. But yeah, the game mentions that there's constant bit flip errors with all electronics on board your ship just because of the amount of radiation that's coming up from the surface. Okay, so I have no idea what any of this stuff is. That changes as you start to research stuff. So that's coming back up to me. I might be able to catch a glimpse of it. There's other stuff going on here. It was the medical bay that, yeah. System halted. So they automatically halt themselves. You have to come into engineering and tell them to reboot. So far, nothing, like, super crucial has gone down like that, but it is a problem if, like, the cargo bay computer goes down while your rover's up here. Yes, I am half full. That's the gist of it. One thing I really like is you can see my ship's name is printed there. So whatever you make your ship's name. You can also go look at the camera while this is happening and watch your rover coming in. You can see my little turret up there with the camera on it. Alright, so since I have no idea what any of this stuff is, I'm just gonna drop 4 random things. You can see the little arms coming out and setting it into the little system that takes it. There's the storage way over there. This is the cargo bay where things generally go that you're either taking down to the surface or bringing back up. And your computer runs through different tests for each object. And there's several phases. First phase is just figuring out what type of thing it is. Luckily I can send my rover back down from here. There's a little bit of transit time, so first phase, it figures out these are optical devices. Typically these are lasers. I don't think I've seen anything that's optical that's not a laser of some kind. Obviously you can suspend research to make other researchers or other researches go by faster, which I might do with this other laser. Electrical. Okay, I'm gonna suspend the electrical system. Mechanical. So lasers are extremely important. Actually, weapons in general are extremely important. So yeah, these are both lasers. I'm gonna go ahead and restart the research. One of the nice things of having the microphone on is it plays throughout the ship, which means you can tell when your rover is about to or is re-entering the atmosphere. Luckily, you don't have to manage too much to do with the rover. Just the individual parts, how beat up they are. You don't have to manage, like, its fuel, really. The generator has fuel, but other stuff doesn't. Like, it doesn't need fuel to move around, luckily. Each of these structures, or vehicles, wreckage, whatever, has, like, a different point where, where you get the object from. Which is kind of weird. Sometimes it's, like, hard to find where you're actually supposed to go on the object. Structures baffled me for a long time, like actual structures. Okay, pulse laser is good. Hopefully it's a turret-mounted one, because the spinal-mounted ones are not so good. This weird altar. So yeah, once you've done some research on something, you'll start to recognize that type of thing in this run with more and more fidelity, dependent on how much research you've done into that type of object. So I've seen electrical devices before, enough to recognize immediately that this object, whatever it is definitely an electrical system. Okay, that's a problem. That thing is firing upon me. So my first run was really, really cool because I did not encounter anything aggressive until I encountered an alien, like actual aliens. Luckily these guys have trouble tracking you and aiming, so I can just kind of drive away. Unfortunately, it appears... Okay, I might be able to cut across this isthmus. That's another reason you definitely want a microphone, by the way, so that you can hear you are being fired upon. It seems to add more stuff. I have not seen the stray, like, loose aliens that I encountered in my first run since I did that first run. I've mostly encountered, obviously, aliens in vehicles. Is this alive? Okay. Guy's alive. You can loot the ones that are damaged. But I have no laser weapons on this as of yet. Okay, that's a problem. And I'm getting out of here. So my manipulator arms got damaged, as did my battery. Okay, pulse laser, that's a good one. IR laser. Actually, that IR laser looks pretty good. A generator. Irreplaceable resource. A launcher. Alright. I'm gonna move the IR laser over there. I should have actually come over and started these researches earlier. You can see it starts further along because I've gained some familiarity with these types of things. And in the meantime, while my rover's coming up, and I had a system I had to reboot, didn't I? Alright, so I've got moderate radiation sickness, so I can do a treatment. Now, you can only do radiation treatment occasionally. It's not real clear what the time frame is for it. Oh, my life support's offline. That's probably not good. That's fine. I probably had enough oxygen. Okay, so I'm not super interested in electrical or mechanical things. I'm not interested in surface plates that much. As much as I am with just totally new types of things. Computer, maybe. I might be interested in computer because it could be something that, oh yeah. It could be something that I would really like. So I'm gonna send the rover to the garage. The manipulator arms being damaged is a huge pain, because it increases the amount of time that you, require to grab stuff. And I'm gonna go ahead and repair the battery too. And I need the laser on here. Maybe the ship should have a warning system. I'm sure it does have a warning if your oxygen starts getting low. It doesn't have a warning apparently for just the computer controlling your life support going down, which is a problem. Alright, none of this stuff seems very exciting right now. So I'm just gonna let what's going go. One nice thing about the equipment that you start the game with is you have 100% chance to repair it here at this lathe, I guess. Okay, I'm not going to send it down to the surface from here. I will send it to the cargo bay because it has to launch from the cargo bay. Because where I was extremely dangerous. You can see there's less interference up here, so the video is much clearer. So this is where I'm going to land. This is about where I started. I'm going to revert back to where I started. I really wish you could select your own landing zone. That would be probably the biggest yeah, see, now I'm going to land up here. That'd probably be the biggest quality of life thing for this game. By the way, if you turn on your laser right now, you can fire it. If you fire it at your ship, it's too powerful. It blows up your ship and instantly kills you. That was how my first run failed. It has a pretty funny dialogue or message about that too. You can also see my turret's slightly different now, because it's got a laser mounted on it in addition to the camera, which you were looking out of. Okay, autopilot. I've never actually used the autopilot. Maybe I'll throw that on next time I've got this thing back up here. Transmitter I've never used. But I have found maps and stuff. Okay, so I see a large structure this way that I'm gonna go investigate this time. The deal with structures is they have doors that you have to blast open, and they typically have a lot of objects in them, but they're usually damaged, which means they take forever to research. But I think they tend to be good stuff. I'm not entirely sure. Is this thing awake? I heard an explosion. Okay, no. At least I think this was a structure out here. Okay, yeah, that's what I saw. No reason not to scoop this stuff up. Usually, if it's stuff just found in isolated structures, it's in good shape, then, you know, it's not damaged. Same with stuff you loot out of vehicles you destroy. By the way, yes, you absolutely do start just, I guess, starting a war. First thing you do when you discover an alien race is open fire. Water flush I've never used because I've never had a problem with rover temperature. I've definitely found hot areas. Okay. So you see the like electrical sparks coming off of there? That means I'm hitting the door. I don't know if different types of weapons do different amounts of damage and or progress to this. Okay, so let's see what's here. I can kind of toss this. I don't think I'll need this. Power storage probably won't need, especially as it's damaged. I'm looking more for stuff that I don't know what it is entirely. Okay, that's a good one. Oops. So I'm gonna leave that power storage there. It's probably just a crappy battery. That's another thing that's kind of interesting about this game is basically everything you find on the surface can be just slapped onto your rover in some way. But it's not necessarily better than what you start with. I hear something. I hear explosions. Okay. This is probably good enough. I wanted to get close enough to this big structure so that I knew where I was going next next run. Don't know what light mazer is. I don't care about water flush really. Alright, single-use cell. Yeah, these things are terrible. They're basically just one-use solar collector. That's not a whole lot of additional power. insulative foam. Huh. So my bunk went down, which is why my music stopped. Right, I'm gonna bulk unload and then once it's done unloading, I'm gonna send it to the garage. Get that autopilot slapped on. Because I'm curious about this. I've gotten autopilots a lot of times, but I've never used them. Okay. Microwave laser. Okay, one of the things I found is some sort of mineral. I don't think I've ever seen a mineral before. All these upgrades when the game makes you ditch the planet so quickly. Oh, good call. I'm glad you said that, because I just remembered I haven't checked on my radiation levels in a while. There is an easy mode, which all it does is it halves the amount of radiation you receive. Which I might enable at some point. There's also an EVA suit, and you can go out the airlock and do a spacewalk. I'm not entirely sure why you would, but it's there. Alright, I'm gonna enter this building and loot it, and then you can see my my turret's a little different now. So I've got the mazer. Oh, there's something going on up there. These, oh, I see. There's something out this way. Okay, I just picked something up and something else got in my craft. Tried to discard it and then picked itself up again, and I discarded it and I'm fleeing now. Make sure you close all the doors. I am not bringing this thing back up. Alright, these are guided. These are guided missiles. lot of guided missiles. There we go. Monopole magnet. Alright, so since I'm distinctly avoiding what was going on back in that building, the creepiest thing in the second playthrough that I did after I shot my own ship with a laser was I died by seeing these things that I finally recognized as creatures kind of like getting in front of my rover and sort of like rolling away, and then finally one of them like rolled right up to the front and then got in, and it was like in my research, you know, in my little menu over here. And I went back up with it and unloaded it, and it crawled out and crawled into my little cargo chute system and got into my ship, and all my doors were open, and it chased me around and eventually killed me. So I am glad that I was able to yank it out of my my rover. I wasn't sure if that would be a viable option. I thought I would have to go like aliens and like EVA suit into the airlock. It did get in again. You see the radiation treatments getting less effective. Yeah, I'm still mildly sick. Well, let's look at what this stuff is. Monopole magnet. Just an exotic material. Pretty high value. This weapon contains anti-detection stealth measures. KE-8 bodies and tubes. Small cadavers. Well, that's worth keeping. Alright, so all this stuff is pretty damaged, although it is like nothing I've seen before, so... And that place that I was down was it was down here. I think I'm going to reset landing zone one more time and turn on the autopilot when I land. See what that does. Yeah, this stuff's gonna take a while to research, but it should be valuable once it's done. The other problem with all of this is damaged alien stuff. You can't really repair. You have a pretty low chance to repair most of it, and you have a pretty high chance to immediately destroy it. I'm gonna start dumping stuff I don't really care about. I don't know if I need the radio receiver. Oh, another thing is you can rename anything you want. Which is nice. You can even rename stuff you haven't researched yet. Which, I mean, if this was a little more like NetHack or something, I could see that being worthwhile. Alright. So yeah, I am still kind of out in the middle of nowhere here. But let's turn on the autopilot. That's interesting. I wonder what it's deciding. What it's gonna do based on. Oh, it ran out of power. Ran out of power almost immediately. Why was it going over here? Oh, I see. Shame you got no generator. Yeah, I should have brought the generator down. And realized, I guess I could have looked to see what its power consumption was like, but yeah, it blew my battery right out. That's a shame. I guess next time I'll shove the old generator on and see what it where it takes me. Oh crap. So this is why you always want a weapon that is mounted on your rover's turret. Because they will eventually start sending planes at you. Arrow indicator, that's what I've been looking for. Arrow indicator is basically just a status window that picks up signals from alien structures, so you can find your way to the nearest one. This is clearly a TIE fighter. Accidentally moved. I thought it was done. Electrical. Yeah, apparently if you stay on the planet long enough, you start finding some really interesting stuff. I do kind of wonder if, like, the type of structure you find. Also, my MP3 player just died. The type of structure determines what kind of thing is in it, or can be in it. I don't know if the game's that detailed. It seems to be just kind of random. Now, I have gotten radio receivers, which lets you listen to basically the RF stuff going on in the area, which tends to just be like weapons going off. And they also tend to use way more energy than the microphones do. Yeah, arrow indicator. Dump this. So let's see, how much would... Alright, so yeah, I would be about 50% likely to have a catastrophic failure, which I imagine would just destroy the thing. And I believe these chances change based on your familiarity with the alien technology. I'm not... Don't quote me on that. Alright, so since all of that stuff would take so long to research, I'm going to shift it out for the green stuff, which, just researching this should increase my familiarity with the types of things that the red ones are. Like sensor. I have seen a thermal camera, which was a cool find, and it actually did act like a thermal camera. If I've got the generator, I don't need the battery, and I don't need the power controller. Yeah, I've got several minutes of fuel for the generator, so that should be good. I'm gonna go ahead and launch that. I like that you can physically see all of the stuff that you add on, or at least most of it. I'm curious what these things are gonna be. I'd better check on my health. I do kind of wish there was other stuff going on with your health and the radiation than just like these kind of petty maintenance tasks. Is it possible some things you're bringing up are radioactive? Entirely possible. I've not seen anything happen with that in this game, but it's definitely possible. High detection. Well, that's just because I'm in orbit around the planet. That's one thing you're never gonna get away from in this game is the fact that the planet itself is irradiated. Alright, so this is damaged, so its display is a little wonky. So it's heading away from the arrow indicator. I guess that's what I get for installing an alien autopilot onto my rover. Huh. Well, I guess that's time to end this run. I turned the autopilot on and I was watching as it drove off a cliff into the ocean. Brace for thrust. Nothing he could do. Alright. Mapping portions of the island he discovered at the landing site. Oh, it did point out that I was on an island. Surface rover was destroyed. A light arc. Well, I didn't do his... During his expedition, he exposed himself to a concerning dose of hard radiation. Number of accepted laws of physics were found to contain fascinating exceptions. Large number of patents now carry Sanford Fisher's name. Yay. Alright, I didn't do as well as the last time I played, but still a pretty good run.